One of the things I don't like about the Insta360 cameras is actually the extension tube you use. It works pretty well, you can hold it in your hand and all that, but when you put it on your trike, it has a tendency to wobble. It also has a tendency to move forward or backwards depending on how you've got it rigged. And I'm just pressing gently on this one, you can see it's moving, and if I wobble it side to side, there's a lot of play up there. I noticed on Spyder Chris's rides recently, he had one of these mounted towards the back and it was gradually swinging out into the traffic, and I was almost worried that he was going to get the thing drop into the traffic line and have it snapped off by a passing truck. Fortunately that didn't happen, but I think he was concerned too. So I'm going to come up with a fix or a mod to actually stabilize these, and maybe that helps out a few other people too. So my idea revolves around possibly using some of these carbon fiber arrows that you can buy very cheaply in places like Walmart and obviously most sporting goods places. You can often get cheap second-hand, or if you know people who do archery, they often have loads of broken ones wherever the shooting's going on, have them in a bin, and if you ask somebody nicely, they'll give them to you. So or you can go around the woods looking where people shoot arrows, not while they're shooting arrows, but you know, afterwards when there's nobody around. But make sure if you do that, you leave somebody out where people will shoot from, so that you don't become the target in the back of the woods. Okay, but having said that, you can pick these arrows up one way or another, and I've also got a selection here of square tube carbon fiber. I've got some round tube carbon fiber. Both, well, the smaller piece of round tube here will fit inside these arrows, and it will also fit inside this piece of square tube. So maybe I'll put details of sizes in the descriptions. Don't forget to look at the descriptions, and also like, subscribe, all that useful stuff. Click the like button, leave a comment. If you've got any suggestions, leave those too, please. But anyway, getting back to the story. So I'm going to play with these and see if I can't come up with a couple of supports for the rod here. So what I'm talking about is I'm thinking about running a brace from somewhere around this area here, or maybe lower down, maybe even here. Now I know some of this will come into the shot, but I have a suspicion that if I keep it low enough, it will blend in with the luggage rack and all the other stuff that's down here, and you'd hardly notice it. So I'm thinking some way of attachment there, probably Velcro, and then bring it down to here onto the back rail of my seat luggage rack, on my rear box luggage rack. And the Spyder doesn't have many other places really to attach to. If you're trying to attach, and I bet this is what Spyder Chris did, I did it when I tried it on the side, you try and hang it on this padded handle here, and you can see it's not actually round, so you can't normally get the normal round fittings to go onto there. And if you try the round clamps, they just tend to roll because this is like a soft rubber, and I didn't want to damage any. There's obviously a heating element inside this as well, so I didn't want to damage that by crunching it too much. So I didn't. I tried putting it on there, and then I tried running bits of string and things over to hold it, to catch it in case it fell too far. Wasn't happy with that, but then I mounted this rack here, luggage rack, and you can look at one of my earlier videos of how to do that. And now it's going to come into use. I also did the video showing this actual clamping mount system here. So if you look at that, you can come up with your own ideas. Maybe you can do a clamp on the back of this, because this is a round tube, if you get the right size clamp. But this whole system here is fraught with difficulty because it's all flexible and it rotates and moves slowly, and vibrations, and just putting a wind cover, my actual machine cover on here has pulled this from vertical into a forward position just by the tension on the cover when it was on for a few days, so it's moving all the time. And I'm thinking that some diagonal bracing here, one hit this way and one the other side, may stiffen up enough to prevent it from folding over to one side, forward or back. So we'll see how it goes. Telescopic maybe, who knows. Let's see what I can come up with. Now, working on the K.I.S.S principle, keep it simple, Spider-Man. There you go, what about that? My first idea was to take the tube. It normally has a little plastic end in here, which is called a knock, I believe. Holds the string onto the arrow, or the arrow onto the string, which is more correct. But that just pulls out, so you've got a nice little hole that runs through there, or a hole through the tube. And my idea is, at the moment, for number one idea, is to cut off the Fletchers, these pieces here, with a knife, drill a hole, run a bolt through there, skinny as possible, doesn't have to be very strong, keeping it fairly low down. Need a good end on this end, probably maybe a washer there, and then a washer and a nut on this end. And then the idea is to take the O-ring and then hook it onto one end like that, fold it around, pull it tight, pull it over the other end. This could be a metal pin or a piece of metal rod. You know, you could use something even like this. This is wire from the marker rods that they use when they put in sprinkler systems and marking where power cables are and things like that. So they're often around on the ground, or you can go into Menards or any other hardware store and buy a bunch of them really cheap. It's sort of a good springy, strong metal, and it's not stainless, it's not necessarily rust proof, although it possibly got some resistance there. But anyway, you could drill a smaller hole, because actually the smaller hole in here, the less you'll actually weaken it. Or you could get a piece of dowel and you could actually plug the end here, just put it in there, trying to get the angle right so you can actually see that it's actually hollow. It's hard to tell, isn't it? But yeah, you could find a piece of dowel, just sand it down, carve it down, plug it in there with a bit of glue, and then when you drill through, that will reinforce this end here, and there's no risk of the tension from the bolt and the O-ring splitting the end of the carbon fibre, because carbon fibre does have a tendency to split fairly easily. Okay, so that's the first plan. Let's see how it turns out. To remove the Fletchers, I've already done one there. It's very easy. Just take a knife, any old one, make sure it's sharp. All you got to do is just slide it down the arrow, and then just follow up a couple of times as necessary, just to clean off the bit there. Here it is again. Slide down, clear off, scrape it off, and that's that done. So now what we've got is you can probably see the tube there now. Stick the blade in there a little bit. So there's a hole there, and I'm going to drill a hole, not too near the end because I don't want this to split out, but if I did put a piece of dowel in there and glue that in and then drill through the whole lot, it will be a lot stronger, and that's probably what I'm going to do. So you may not see me do that, but if there's a plug in there when I do this, then I've drilled the hole, then that's where I'm going next. I don't think I need to show you that, because I think most people know how to use a drill. If you don't, you probably aren't watching this video anyway. Okay. Right, so I've sanded down the edge of this. You can use glass paper, sandpaper, whatever you want to call it. I have some stuck to a piece of board here which keeps it nice and flat, and you can rub it long ways or crossways, or a bit of both, and just get it round evenly. And another good way of doing it, I'm sorry, nudging the camera here, is to use a half round file or a flat file, and you can file the same way. You can go crossways, which will give you a fairly rough cut. You can come straight up and down, which gives you a finer cut, and up and down gives you nice grooves, which the glue or adhesive, whatever you're using, will adhere to nicely. So the idea is make it, oops, there we go again, bumping the camera. The idea is you want it to fit into the tube. Go down a little bit so it's in focus, and you want to go in maybe about an inch or so, 25 millimeters, and then should just start to get a little bit tight, and you can stop it there and then just cut it off. If you want to take a pencil and just mark that at that point, then you can go and cut it off, push it in, or you can leave it all together like that, glue it in, and then cut it off once you've pushed it in place. Don't push it in too tight on the thickness, or you'll just crack the bottom of this away. The whole idea is not to split the carbon fibre. So I've got my piece. I've got about an inch. That's almost about 1.25 inches there. It doesn't really matter. And so the next thing is to put some adhesive on there. Now I've got this rubber adhesive here, which is pretty strong stuff. You can buy it anywhere in Walmart or any craft store or whatever you like. Any sticky tack, any of those sort of things will probably work. Or some construction adhesive, the lightweight ones. And you just want to apply some onto it. Now the reason I like this one, it's a rubber based one, and it tends to stay rubbery and stick very well. It's not a really hard glue, so all you got to do is put some on, and then I like to wipe a bit off inside the hole, so you're not just pushing it all straight back off again. And then you just turn through until you hit the stop mark and leave it be there. And then if you get a piece of material, just clean that off, which is what I'm going to do now. Right, for some reason my phone camera shut off there for a bit, so I'll just turn it back on. But yeah, if you either roll the tube to centralize it again, if it's a fixed drill, or if it's a hand drill, then have the tube upright and then lean the drill over in whichever direction it needs to go, to make sure that you end up going through at the angle you'll need to get all the way through and come out the other side evenly. See what I mean? It's got equal amounts on both sides there, and it's got equal amounts on both sides there. Now I've decided to start off, I may change this to a bolt, but for the moment I thought, well, why not use a cotter pin? You can buy all these things at Harbour Freight or anywhere else. This is an assortment. You can go to most car places or anywhere you like and buy cotter pins. They're very cheap. Buy them by the box off Amazon, or you probably don't need that many in your lifetime, but so you could just go down to a general store and just buy one. Ace Hardware in our part of the world is the place, but then you've got some of the places, you know, most of the Home Depot type places and all that will have them, and Menards if you've got one of those. So this is a cotter pin, some people call it a split pin, and I'm going to use this because I can push it through. I can split it open slightly. Let me put down this. I was going to talk about the drill gauge. If you haven't seen me use this already, these are simple things. You can find out what size drill you need by working out which hole the cotter pin or bolt or whatever it is using will fit through, and you want to drill just slightly bigger in this case because you want a clearance, so that one there would be perfect. So then I go and I pick up my drills and I read off here. It does tell you on the side, but if I'm that lazy, I can just go and pick up one and shove it in the hole. If it fits, I know I've got the right one. If it's too big, too small, a bit like getting your porridge or your oatmeal with the 3 bears, you'll eventually get just right. Okay, so useful to have. Now I've got this done. Next stage is I'm going to go and cut this off at this end. Now I haven't done anything with the length of this rod yet because I haven't fitted it and I don't know how long it's going to be, and I'm thinking I'm going to make it telescopic, and I'll probably use another cotter pin at the other end, but I won't put the reinforcing down that side. I'll slide a piece of the other tube that I have, and you can buy arrows in different diameters. So if you ask the guy at the place that sells arrows, or if you go to an archery club and ask them for some tubes for the arrows and find one that fits inside the other, I almost guarantee you'll find a couple, but they're not very expensive. You can look them up on Amazon, look out the internal diameter, that's the one inside here that this fits into, and the external diameter is this one. So you want this one with an internal diameter the same size as the external diameter of the piece of tube you're going to use for this carbon fiber or whatever else it is. So this is internal diameter you want to know, this one's external diameter. Or you can just go around, go down to the place and just keep pushing one inside the other until it fits. All right, that's a little tip there for you. Moving on. This is the first idea I have. You can see now here's the cotter pin going through the piece of carbon fiber rod. Could be aluminum rod, whatever you want to use. Don't use wood, it wouldn't be strong enough at the edges, but do put a piece of plug in here of wood and then drill through the hole here. So here's a split pin or cotter pin, and I've just taken this O-ring and I've just put it over this end and I've pulled it down tight. I've pulled it over the bottom of that and it's staying in place quite happily. In fact, the rubber is causing a friction seal here, so I don't think it's going to go any further. It can't slide up the tube because it's hitting the side of the cotter pin, which I hadn't thought about, so that's a plus. I was going to put some clip on the end here to hold it in place, but I'm not even sure I need that now. It would smarten it up. But this is on here. I can move it around by pushing hard on the rubber, but basically it's going to stay there, and if I pull against it, I'm pulling with about 10 pounds force here. You can see it's not really moving, and if I push against it, it's not hardly moving. If I held it onto here, just here, with my thumb, without the thumb, I got that much movement, giving that about 5 pounds push. Now if I hold that on there, it's not moving sideways at all, it's just moving forward and back on the diagonal now. So if I do the same thing here, wherever I want it, that will hold it. And the thing is, if I do that and I cut this back here somewhere, let's say I cut it here, I can actually sleeve in a piece of the other tube and I could drill a hole here and then slide that in, and I would have some adjustability on the angle of this INSTA360, so I could actually angle it this way or that way. I'd be able to pull it towards me like this, lean it over, so it's doing something like this. If I want to get a side shot, I could lean it over, and if I want to push it upright, I can push it up to here and adjust the pin here on the telescopic part, and I can even make it so that it goes out the other way. So that's, I think, where I'm going next. And then if this side works okay, I'll do an exact copy for the other side. And triangulation, if you remember your maths and all that business, geometry, that will then become pretty stable, and the risk of it falling down, even if you've got it at some fairly reasonably low angle, will actually give you a great effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably cut it about, there's some writing just here, I'm probably going to cut it about, well, about here, maybe 3 inches back or so. I don't think I'm going to give it any more than that, but I'll cut it somewhere here, and then I'm going to slide the other tube in and drill a hole and do the exact same thing on the inner tube that I slide in, and then finally I can adjust this, and then I'll drill a hole for a cotter pin, and then I'll slide it up and down a bit and drill through the same hole to give me a series of holes to make this adjustable. I have got another way of doing that by putting very small O-rings around the thinner tube instead, and you just put 2 or 3 on there and they won't slide easily, and you can push them down, but that will stop it compressing, but it won't stop them moving outwards. So the cotter pin idea is, I think, the way to go. Oh, we'll find out. My metalwork instructor used to instill in me and all of us under training that never waste materials. So I've got this length here, it's a 24-inch arrow, so I'm going to cut it in the middle at the halfway point. Now, carbon fiber is a difficult material to cut because it blunts things. If you put most saws on it, you'll find out you just blunt them. The best way I find to to make a cut is to take what I call a 3 square, it's an old-fashioned name for it, or triangular if you prefer. You can see it's a triangle, hopefully, and this gives you quite a deep 60-degree notch in your piece of material. And all I do is I just file it. Now I'm doing it in mid-air here, but there we go, I chopped it off. I went through most of it earlier, but all you do is just rotate around, turn the material or push the file slowly, and just try and make sure you're going to meet up. Although you don't want to cause a spiral down the material, but so just do it lightly at first, get all the way around, readjust it if you're not too deep until it's a nice circle, and then just keep filing. So there's my 12 inches. Move the rule out the way. Again, not critical for length, just make what you like. I'm doing that because the rod is a 36-inch piece and I might as well get 3 pieces. I'm just filing a little bit, rotating the tube, letting it rotate on its end, and then you can see the dust formed there. And then I'm just going to look at it and see if I'm going to meet up again. I look pretty good. If you keep it roughly at right angles, you can eyeball it, find the slot, and then just let it roll in your fingers slightly and just keep going around it until it wants to stop. You feel it suddenly go through. There we go. Then you want to just hold it a little bit more firmly, roll it again, hold it firmly, and you can see it's almost breaking off now. It cuts on the push, you just let it slide back on the pull, you don't have to apply weight, and there you go, it's pretty well gone through. There's probably just a fibre or two holding it there. Just going to rotate it round until it breaks through, and you can just finish it off with a knife if you want to. Now that's all the dust that you want to avoid. Don't breathe it in, don't blow it around, just leave it alone. Sorry about the camera, I do keep walking into it, it's right on my chin, but I'm trying to give you the best view. So again, on here you can do this. You can take your bit of sandpaper, glass paper, as I know it, and you can just drag it across, and you can see it leaves a trail of carbon fibre, and that just smooths off the edge. So that will give you a nice cleaned up edge, and while you're at it you might as well just do the other end. That's all just carbon fibre dust and material coming off there. So again, don't rub it with your fingers, use a piece of cloth or a piece of paper towel. And then the dust here, you can get rid of it in your bin. Okay, put it in the bin, shake it off, wipe it off. You can see it leaves a trace. Carbon, you might think of carbon pencil or something like that, it's a bit similar. Okay, so now I've got my piece here, I've got this piece, I'm going to go off and drill a hole in this, and then this will slide through here. Now again it's not a bad idea to put a little plug in this tube if you wanted to reinforce it all the way through. If you had some very thin dowel, I don't know if I've got any, I'm going to go look in my stock and just see if I've got anything thin enough to fit in there. If you had a piece that went all the way through, be a good idea, because it'll reinforce this, especially if you're going to drill several holes. It will stiffen it up considerably. So all right, let me go away and drill another hole, and then I'll drill a couple more where the cotter pin's going to go through, and I'll show you the result up to that point. What I've done now is I've reattached this as I did before, cotter pin, O-ring, clipped on the back here. These come in different lengths, so you can always get a longer one if you want one, and you can splay these slightly if you want to make sure it stays on there, but I don't think it's going to come off. The tension in this is pretty firm. And what I've done up here now is I drilled a hole here. I left quite a good length here, probably maybe almost 1.5 inches, and then drilled a hole through the tube as before, through here, put the cotter pin through, and because because the O-rings that I have weren't quite long enough, I linked two together, which is you just put one inside the other and pull it through. I'll perhaps show you that. If you wonder how to double up on these rings, what you have to do is put one against the other and then pull it through and push it through so that you can get one end going, or one part of the circle of one of them going back on underneath itself. I don't know if I'm showing it up very well here, but so you get that effect. You just pull tight, smooth it out a little bit, so now you've got an extension. Of course you can buy bigger rings, but if you buy a packet of these things of one size, that's how you can extend them. And then put it on the back here. The side of the carbon rod is resting on the back of the Insta-stick, and this edge here is resting against the side of the cotter pin. So between the two, they've got quite a bit. I might make this a longer cotter pin because there's not a lot sticking out here, but either way, that grips that on there at the angle that I want, and then down here, this one grips this where I want it to, and I've turned the Insta-stick almost vertical, which is how I often use it, but I will have it various positions. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole back here, but before I did that, I took a paint stick pen, one of these, which you can buy off Amazon in a set. I really like these. You shake them up, they've got real paint in them. You can paint rocks and all that sort of stuff. It's a craft stick, so it has paint in there and a fibre end, and I rested my finger on the rod, and I just drew a line down here, all the way down here to the point where I'm going to drill a hole. So just about here. This point here is where the joint is, just there. Okay, so I'm going to drill a hole here. I'm going to try and go accurately through it. Now the reason for doing it in place is because this will rotate into the position it wants to be for this angle, and this one's already fixed set here, and this one's really fixed set here, but this will change as I tilt the Insta-stick around. So I'm going to drill the hole through this, and at this point put the cotter pin in. That's one marked. This hole will be permanently here, but now I can loosen off the clamp down the bottom here, and I can move this to side wherever I want it, and then use the same hole, drill through this piece again, and so every time I want to put it into that position, this hole will present itself, and I can do the same on the same side once I get that in position. So this is now going to locate this Insta-stick in a variety of positions. It's not infinitely adjustable, but it'll give me enough positions to do what I want it to do. So I'm going to drill just there right now. I'm going to do it with the hand electric drill and use a lot of care to make sure I go through evenly, correcting it. I'll do that and then I'll come back to you. There's the hole I've just drilled. It's gone through both this tube and that tube, so when I put a cotter pin or a split pin in there, I haven't tried it yet, this is just straight away after drilling. There we go. I can spread that a bit if I want to, just to make it stay in there. So I have to change the angle so you can see. Now that's attached there, but basically that now is held very firmly there. If I go to the top, you can see hardly any movement. If I take my hand away and just let it move naturally on this joint here as it's doing down here, it's still only moving a very small amount. And when we look from the back as I do it, there's not as much as before. And I haven't even put the second one in, but if I pull it this way, it doesn't want to move hardly at all. So I'm going to call that a successful thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the clamp down here, and I'm going to, well, not that one in fact, I'm going to loosen the clamp in there, the ball joint, and I'm going to move this further out to another angle that I want, and then I'll go through the same hole again and drill that, and then I'll lock it in place there with the pin, and I'll do several more in various positions, and then I'll go and make up a second one of these, put it on from the other side, and that should work, I think. So who knows, maybe that's a Mark 1 first time K.I.S.S. We've gone from keep it simple Spider-Man to kept it smart Spider-Man. This was what I was actually able to get by leaving the one hole drill there, not altering anything. This one slid up a bit further here, but I loosened off the ball clamp and I just tilted it over, and this is probably about as far as I want to go. I'll come around the side and show you. It's pretty well not far off vertical, but it's now leaning out to the side. So if I want to get a round the head shot, I can do that even without making more holes. But if I don't want to make another hole, all I have to do is pull this pin out of here, like so, a bit tight now, and then I can push this tube down, as you can see it moving now up and down there, and I can bring this out to wherever I want it and just drill another hole, and that'll give me an even more extreme angle. So I'm going to do that next, and I'm going to mark with the marker pen where this tube gets to. It's almost at the end of my yellow line by coincidence. I'm going to put a ring around that with the paint stick, and then when I come to push this into this position, I'll know where it is without having to hunt for the hole to connect through. So that's, I've taken the second 12-inch piece of arrow. I've left the actual end on here, which takes the arrowhead and the point normally, and I've attached this on the outside here in the same way as I did on that one. And so now I've got this propped up to here, and my idea is that if I put the split pin, cotter pin in this way on, I can take the band and run it around that way and attach it to the side. Or maybe I can put this on this side and again take the cotter pin here and then run a double ring around that way. So I'll play with that. If that doesn't work, this is reinforced through here, so when I drill through here I'll probably hit the metal of that. It's aluminum, so, or aluminium as I would say in England, but I'll drill through there, and then if I need to I can cut this piece off and put an extension on if I want to. And I may go down that route, but this is just playing as I go, you know, to see what works. But this is a full, now you got proper triangulation stuff going on here. So this, when if it's held there, this should be very rigid in this position. Now, if I need to move this, if I want to move this back up, let me just loosen it off a bit so I can make some adjustments. Just undo the ball joint back here. So if I want to push this back up, I can push it forward like that, which gives you a nice downward angle of the camera, which is not a bad shot either. I can extend this here and bring this back, which I'll probably do because that'll need another hole for doing that, but backwards is actually a really good view. It looks like you're being followed when you use the camera back there. So, and I can also make different lengths of these and slide in to make different purposes. So, you know, this is quite a universal setup. I should patent it, but anyway, you know, if it works for people, that's fine. If some person wants to take it on and make them, maybe you'll include me and give me a percentage. and that will be fine. There's two struts from one side, and I put the cotter pin through here. This is down. This would be its lowest point if this was pushed all the way back into this piece of tube. So we've got quite a nice little bit sticking out there, but that gives it plenty of area for this O-ring, double O-ring to attach on either side. It's pretty rigid. Now even you can see here I'm getting a good shake. I haven't tightened up the ball down here even yet. But if I tighten it up, I think you've got quite a considerable, in the forward and back there's hardly any movement. I'm giving this about a 5-pound shove backwards and forwards, and you're getting probably an inch movement or so, and the trike's actually moving more than the frame is, but you can see down here very solid, no movement. Up here the second one is giving a lot of brace to the first one, and I think we've got a deal there. Now I'm just going to adjust it back to the vertical and drill a couple of holes and then put one so that the idea is that it's leaning sideways and backwards. Drill a couple for that as well, and then I'll have several good fixed positions where it's looking over my shoulder, and we can get some nice shots from that. So there we go. So here we have the final Mark I version. You can see I've got it into an extreme backward position, which is very popular. It gives you like an aerial following shot, and the bracing's out, extension arms reaching out. I could put them on both sides. It's quite stable. There's a side to side, it's very good. Up and down there's a little bit more, and that's because the ball joint area down here is actually moving up and down, and it may be possible for me to attach something down here that dampens that movement. But that's why I don't like the ball joints. They seemingly grip, but yeah, they're also flexible, and they don't grip all around the ball. You'd think it would, but actually if you look at them and look at the if you put a bit of glue or something on them and then bind them out and take them off, you'll find the glue's got a line around it, a fairly hard line around it, rather than an even surface. So they need to be refitted if you want to get a really good grip, or maybe you need to put something between that will allow them to fit more accurately. But this is my result. This is what I was aiming for, and I'm very pleased with it. I could move the brackets over to the other side to do some work from the right hand side here if I want to take some shots from there, but this is going to give me a lot. This will give me some nice down shots as well. And the only other one I could probably come up with is bringing the camera all the way down here off the back and having it hanging down here somewhere, which would be a neat idea. I'd have to modify the bracket here, maybe turn it upside down or put a piece extension and then ball joint it out. I did end up using two different size clamps for the balls in there. This is the long reach one, which gives me this nice backward slope. This is the short reach one, which gives me the vertical one and leaning forward. So if I want extreme backwards, I can use that one. If I take that one off, I can go everything from vertical forward. And I've also still got the range of leaning out to the sides on these other holes. I may have to adjust some of these to get that lean coming out this way, but again, it's just a case of drilling through this hole here as these tubes slide in or out, and then marking the positions and drilling them. So it's not hard to foresee all sorts of variables, and I have got one other trick up my sleeve which I might try in a bit and see if it works even better. Well, look at that. I finally got a mount. I've got some reinforcement on there. It's turned out really well. I'm very pleased with it, and you can probably see it there nicely. It turned out very well. So, you know, a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours spent working it out. It's the Mark I version, and yeah, I'm really pleased with it. Let's see if I can step over and get it in shot. So here's my Insta360 with all its gubbins attached. It's got the microphone Bluetooth system on there, and I've got to test that out further. It's been working, but I haven't quite got it as finely tuned as I would like. But this is the outcome of a few hours of work, and yeah, I'm about to test the camera, and I'll create some footage and just see what I get with the camera at different positions. I've moved away from the O-rings except for these two places here, and even these I might replace eventually, but there and there, they're not under a lot of tension, those two, but these ones were just under too much tension and they kept breaking, so I've swapped out and gone for zip ties, put through the cutter ring and then taken around the post, the Insta post, and attached off there. The same with that one, and that's okay, but it doesn't make it easy to take the post off if you wanted to take the post off, so I'll think more about that as I go along. Down here I made these brackets up. They're a bit ugly at the moment because they're only prototypes, and I put some rubber mat underneath these pieces of Velcro so that this can't move sideways. It's very firmly fixed here, and these are just a piece of rubber. I had to use a piece of old mouse mat and peel the front off it, and then the slightly sticky side I put downwards this way, and then just wrap some of this double-sided Velcro tape around here. Did the same there, so that's firm there. I could do the same here, but I haven't got any need to do it yet because it's on the bend and it seems fairly firm. And again, made of this temporary. They'll all be smoothed off and probably painted if I decide I'm going to go this route. This is all prototyping, so just to give you the idea of how it goes. And I always like to have a backup, so I've got a piece of mylar thread coming through here that holds the pin to the luggage frame, so that if I do decide to pull it out, I won't lose the pin easily. I bent it over at the end, but I left enough material there so I can get a pair of pliers and straighten them out and then pull them out. And the same on this one down here. I did exactly the same thing. They bent down underneath, a bit shorter on that one, but the same idea. I push them down and pull them up fairly tightly so that there's not any play in the up and down motion this way, and there's no play going that way on that one at the moment. Same with this one, very little movement that way or that way, and this is all held together because that zip tie goes around that part of the Insta stick. This one through here from this one does the same job there. This one holds them both together, and then finally the back of the two carbon fibre rods rest against the stick and hold it pretty firmly. So I'm pretty pleased with the overall working of it now, but obviously aesthetically it does need a bit of improvement, but that's what this channel is all about, making mods. And then if you want to adapt it and go forth and work out your own idea, that's great. You know, it's just a food for thought. But you'll see from my videos in the future whether it's effective or not. So I've squished the soft material, aluminum, aluminium, from both sides here as well, just to nip it round so that it forms a tight fit around the tube. It will still move, but this will help to grip it and stop all of this stuff sliding around, hopefully. So that one's all set up, and I've now moved over to this one, and I'm going to set up the same thing. The bracket will probably end up on this side here, and I'll put it like there, and we'll see how it goes. It's one of those things you got to just work it out as you feel that it needs to move, and I think that's the place to start with. If this doesn't work, or if I need to make up a different bracket, of course I can do that. It's an easy fix, but I'm going to use the same hole here for the split pin, and I'm going to follow the same technique I used here, so I won't bother refilming this. It's just a repeat, but I'm going to wrap it around here, and I'll probably make up a card template just to make sure I got the length. This might be a little bit longer round here, so it might need to be a little bit longer. I could cut some of this off if I wanted to make it fit the same bracket, but you know, I'll customize it and see how it goes. So I'm going to stop now. The sirens are going off. We're under a tornado watch, and it's possibly turning into a warning now because the sirens have just gone off, as you can hear. It's getting very black outside. It's not raining heavily, but I think it's best to go and take cover. So down to the basement and get the TV or the phone on and watch the weather and watch it go by. So see you on the other side of all this, hopefully. So here we are again. It's a day later and the thunderstorms have gone through. We didn't get any tornadoes, nothing touched the ground, although it did look threatening all around Omaha and Council Bluffs for a while. We did get quarter-size hail, and that was it, and of course there were strong winds and some trees down and all that sort of thing, as you'd expect. But here we are back again. So now I'm going to just switch the camera around so I can show you the next piece of what I was talking about before I got interrupted. So I was talking about these. Now these are simple to make, and I'm not going to go into great detail of how to make them. Basically you cut out a piece of flat card and put it around, lay it over the top of where the hole is, and poke anything through that will make a mark. You can do it from both sides, or you can go right through. Then peel it back into a flat strip of card again, lay it onto some soft aluminum, wherever you come from, same stuff, and then trim the corners, round them off if you want to. This is only prototyping, so I haven't got that far. And then once you've laid it on, you can actually drill the holes if you think you got them accurate when you laid the card template on, while this is still flat, and you can drill one at this end of it and one at that end of it, and then when you fold them back, if you've done it all right, it'll go straight through. Or you can drill one and then drill the second one with this bent in place. Just make sure when you're holding it you don't drill through your finger at the other side. Okay, this one's done the same way. This one's a little bit longer. I'll include a photo just showing the templates that I made up so you can see what I'm talking about, but same idea again, just folded aluminum, and I don't know if I'll put the dents in here like I did on this one, and as I did on that one. That works very well there to hold that one pretty well straight, but they may need some room to move, but I think also the aluminum's soft enough to allow that to happen. Now this has worked really well. It's been out for a couple of rides of over 100 miles up and down on fairly good and bumpy roads, with the stick extended well out to the side out here, and with no collapse. You can see it's still pretty well firm up there. There's hardly any movement on it at all. If I come on down, you can see. Now it may look a bit untidy, but remember this is prototyping. I could cut these down like here probably, and over there, so they don't stick out so far. And there are other mods to do to improve it. So this is the Mark 1 prototype, and the Mark 2 might have 3D printed brackets here and here, and it might even have that some sort of bracket there 3D printed as well. I'll see how I go. I don't like this as far as aesthetics, but if anybody does have any idea to replace the O-rings with something that's designed to take tension in others, like an elastic ring that's fairly substantial, then let me know in the comments and I'll get some and give it a try. But these doesn't last. I came out the following day after a ride and 3 of them had split, and including the ones that I had two together, one of them split through, so none of them could take the tension. so don't bother going down that route. But anyway, what I've got now, I know it works, and it's not pretty, but it will be better. And also I'm going to walk to the front now. I was just watching one of Spyder Chris's videos, and he was down in Florida somewhere, and his stick here, his selfie stick, was mounted in a similar way to mine probably, and he was finding it was starting to lean out into the traffic, which is dangerous. He had it extended fully, and it was way out there and almost going down the center line, which, you know, one side swipe from a big truck or a car and you've lost your $300, $500 camera. So I've set mine up here, I've braced it, and it doesn't look pretty at the moment, but I've got this washcloth stuck in here, polishing cloth, to absorb some of the dampening vibration, and it's basically a clamp here, ball joint, and then a clamp down here which has got the other ball on it, or this I think is actually one, it may be one continuous unit here. Let me just have a look. No, that's the second ball joint just there. So it's ball joint, clamp here, with a pincer type movement on here. These are okay, but this is where the weak spot is, here and here. The ball joints don't have enough contact with the side pieces to provide a good grip, and depending which way these splits line up, I've got mine lining up front and back, so that mine will tend to fall forward or backwards. I think Chris might have had his lined up this way where they were going side to side, and then the ball just rotates its way between the two sides and will creep forward. So there's ways to fix that, and I'll come up with some later, but at the moment this is totally just prototype modifications and testing. I supply power to my Insta360 camera because I find the battery doesn't last for the 3.5 hours that I'm out filming, and I leave my camera running, so other people turn them off and on as they go along. But I prefer just to edit out the footage or leave it full length in case something interesting happens. But anyway, so, and all this extra gubbins down here, this is only because I have extra long cables for power, and I've ordered some shorter ones, and I'm also going to run a short one to plug the sound microphone to its lavalier receiver, which I'll probably mount down here somewhere, and that will keep that out of the shot here, because you don't want too much sticking out here. I noticed I had some brackets on my cameras, and you could see a flare around the sides, and where the camera stitching didn't quite ignore them. So anyway, it's all good fun prototyping, and you just have to give it a go, see what you get, and have fun. Catch you on the other side. Bye.